Welcome, I'm Jamal Williams.
And I'm Lauren Fluker.
And this is From the Press Box.
Today's show will delve into the NFL Combine along with a special in-studio guest.
Don't forget national sports.
I could never. Those are my favorite, and you know that, Jamal.
Well, speaking of the national scene, Washington Nationals extended Ryan Zimmerman to a contract that could earn him up to $150 million.
Okay, so the only third baseman making more than him is A-Rod.
Yep, that's the only one.
Wow. Danica Patrick had a string of bad luck with a couple of crashes, including one in the Daytona 500.
Maybe if her car had a couple, then she wouldn't have crashed.
And I'm so sure she does not race in her Lamborghini, Jamal.
You're right, because she doesn't drive her Lamborghini because it doesn't have
Okay, on to more important news. Lamar University head coach Pat Knight went on a post-game rant after his team's loss to Stephen F. Austin University.
Coach Knight, son of former outspoken coach Bobby Knight, said his team has an infestation of guys that are hard to coach.
And I guess he's going to call the exterminator because he went on to say that he has 8 new guys coming in next year and the attitude on the team will be completely different.
A few days after that press conference, Coach Knight said he received a supportive text message from other coaches, including his father, and phone calls from parents wanting their children to play for his team.
And that's a little bit of tough love from Beaumont, Texas, and here's some from us. We're going to go to a break, but when we return, we'll have our special in-studio guest. Stay tuned.
Shelters are the best places to find a new pet.
What a perfectly beautiful little lady.
That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals.
Cute little rascal.
Eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet.
Oh, ladies first.
Be that person. Adopt.
This is living. Hey, kid.
To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to From the Press Box. We're going to get into our NFL Combine segment now. I'm here with the Atlanta Falcons beat writer, D. Orlando Ledbetter. I want to thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, Jamal.
You just got back from the Combine. What were your first thoughts on everything?
Well, it was a big hype about Robert Griffin III and Andrew Luck and how they would perform, despite the fact that they weren't throwing the football. However, there's also 300 other players that were there for their NFL job fair.
Okay, we'll definitely talk about RG3 and Andrew Luck in a second. Let's start off with the guy from UGA, Brandon Boykin. I mean, this guy accounted for 14 points at the Outback Bowl and had to put his stock at an all-time high. So
yes, Brandon played at the Senior Bowl, but did not. He got injured, suffered a lower fracture in his right leg. So he didn't participate in the drills at the Combine, but however, he did interview with the teams and undergo all of the medical treatments. Mike Mayock from the NFL Network told us at the gathering that he was a second or third round pick as a slot cornerback or a punt returner.
Okay, that's definitely good to hear. A guy that did participate in the Combine and did very well, I might add, is Stephen Hill from Georgia Tech. I mean, he doesn't have the numbers to back it up because he played in an option system, but he has all the athletic ability in the world.
Yes, Stephen ran a 4.3 40-yard dash. He actually lit up the not the Georgia Dome, but the Lucas Oil Stadium, and probably earned himself a lot of money there at the Combine.
Oh, that's definitely good because I personally like this kid. The next guy, I mean, who didn't perform as well at the Combine is Chandler Jones. I mean, he's supposed to be a pass rusher, but he ran a 2.87. How does that go together?
Well, Chandler Jones is one of those freakish athletes with 35.5-inch arms who can turn the corner and burst to the quarterback, but they don't see that on his film at Syracuse. He was not a very productive player, but he does have the measurables that the NFL teams like.
Okay. Another guy that plays the game extremely violently is Vontez Burfict. What do you think about this guy? I mean, he's compared to Ray Lewis, but he ran a 5.40.
Yeah, Vontez came on the scene as a All-American in his sophomore year at Arizona State, but ever since then, things have not gone well for him, Jamal. He's had problems on the field with his anger, and the personal fouls just started to mount. So he's going to be a guy that people are going to want to do a extensive background check on to see if, hey, who's the guy we're getting? Are we getting the sophomore All-American, or are we getting this kind of guy that couldn't play between the lines?
Okay. A guy that definitely has played between the lines. I mean, this guy's the undisputed leader of his team. He's won just about every time he's touched the field. Kellen Moore from Boise State. But he's being scrutinized so much in the draft process. What do you think about him?
Well, on these organizational charts in the league, you're supposed to be a certain height, weight, run a certain speed, and so forth. He doesn't fit any of that, Jamal. We got to see him throw on Sunday. where they allowed some members of the Pro Football Writers of America to witness the workouts. And his balls look fine coming out. Of course, there's no pass rush in his face, but he certainly can throw the ball. He's won at Boise State. He's got all the things you look for and intangibles and so forth, but he doesn't meet the physical requirements. So some teams may take a flyer on him.
Okay, definitely one of the most important things for a quarterback is being a winner, because you're the leader of that team. And we'll be right back after this break, and we'll discuss a few more questions.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back. We're still here with D. Orlando Ledbetter of the AJC. Now we're going to get into RG3 fever. I mean, at the beginning of this year's college season, he was scouted as a wide receiver going into the NFL, and then he just came out firing, and he's won the Heisman, beat out Andrew Luck for that. And do you think he can beat out Andrew Luck for a second time?
I don't believe so, but he's certainly added a lot of value to the number 2 pick, so much so that Cleveland, Washington, and reportedly now even Seattle is looking at moving into that spot. He's shown that he can throw the ball, and he's not just a running quarterback. He will stand in the pocket and try to deliver the ball down the field before trying to run.
Okay. Well, with these 2 picks almost locked in, with Andrew Luck 1 and most likely RG3 going 2, how do you think the rest of the top 5 will pan out?
I think Matt Khalil, the tackle from USC, will come off the board next at 3. Then we'll see the fine wide receiver, Justin Blackman from Oklahoma State. He's going to go off at 4. And then the cornerback from LSU, Morris Claiborne, a real steady player off the ball, pretty much a can't-miss corner in most books. He'll be the 5th pick in the draft.
Okay, I see you have an SEC guy there. Another SEC guy is Trent Richardson, who's not in the mix at the top 5, but he's the unquestioned prize at running back in this year's draft. But there's a little bit more of a jumble at the guy behind him. Who do you think the second best running back in this year's draft is?
Well, the kid from Miami, Lamar Miller, really ran well at the combine and helped his stock. Don't look for him to get past the Bengals at 22. David Wilson, the running back out of Virginia Tech, has also shown well at the combine, and he'll probably be the 3rd running back coming off the board.
Okay. You talked about guys that did well at the combine just now, improving their stock for this running back position to kind of certify themselves as that second guy. Who do you think the biggest winner at the NFL Combine was?
Well, certainly RG3, establishing the fact that he's going to be a legitimate and bona fide NFL quarterback. Stephen Hill from Georgia Tech. People were saying he shouldn't even have came out of school, but now he's looking pretty much like a 3rd, maybe 2nd round pick. He certainly helped himself. And also Dontarius Poe from Memphis. He was a kid, big 346-pound kid who threw the bar up 44 times. He showed that he's going to be strong and can anchor any line in a 4-3 or a 3-4.
Okay. Well, whenever there are winners, there are also losers. So who do you think the losers of this year's Combine were?
My 3 guys that disappointed were Kendall Wright, RG3's wide receiver. He got to the Combine and ran a 4.6, which is pretty slow for a wide receiver. Michael Brockers, the defensive tackle from LSU. You want to see those guys lift more than 19 times. That's pretty weak for an NFL tackle. And Peter Kahns, he was considered the top center coming out from Wisconsin, and he only lifted 18. Unless there were some injuries or something that we didn't know about, those guys are going to have to lift again at their pro day and put up some better numbers than they did at the combine.
Okay, I'm definitely agreeing with you there. But I want to get to, every year there are guys that come in the NFL, I mean, almost out of nowhere. You got to think Marcus Colston's, Doug Baldwin last year came out of undrafted free agency to put up almost 800 yards receiving for the Seahawks. Arian Foster is one of the best running backs in the NFL now, and he was undrafted as well. Who do you think this year's sleeper pick could be?
Well, I got 2 for you, Jamal. Ladarius Green out of Louisiana Lafayette. He's a big, tall kid, rangy tight end, and we see how teams have emphasized that position in the playoffs this year. And then also the quick kid out of Appalachian State. He was a late developing kid coming out of South Carolina and Columbia, and put up some super numbers at App State. So those are two guys to keep an eye on in this year's draft.
I mean, being from Louisiana, I definitely like green. But I want to thank you for coming in today, and we're going to get to our next segment. When we come back, we'll be going into Hurry Up Offense.
Danse, balance la cadence, on lève bien tes hanches au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence, dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou, ton
You didn't give up on sex? Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Welcome back to From the Press Box. And speaking of welcome, Arena Football will return March 9th.
Okay, we got it. Arena football's coming back. Enough talking. Let's get into Hurry Up Offense.
Okay, you're right. This is the time of the show where we'll get 4 topics in 30 seconds to state and defend our stance. So let's jump into it.
Okay, first question. The All-Star break just passed, so we've had time to get a good look at all the rookies. What NBA rookie has played the best so far?
Kyrie Irving. He finished with 34 points and 9 assists in the Rising Stars Challenge. He was 12 for 13 from the field and 8 for 8 with his 3-pointers. He got MVP honors at the Rising Stars Challenge. He averages 18 points and 5 assists per game. These stats are excellent for a perimeter player, a rookie, and a point guard.
Okay, you're right. I definitely like Kyrie Irving. He's playing great. But another player that's playing great is Ricky Rubio. Kyrie Irving plays great on a team, and, you know, it's easy to look good on a bad team. Ricky Rubio has turned the Timberwolves into a contender. That tells you how good he is. He was drafted in 09. It was definitely worth the wait. I mean, he's averaging over 11 points a game, over 8 assists per game, and this guy just plays the game so smoothly.
Phenomenal, yeah.
I mean, he knows where everyone is on the court. He makes these behind-the-back, no-look passes that just make you want, you'd never know what he's going to do when he has the ball in his hands. He might cross you over and take it to the hoop. He might pass it to a teammate who's going to get him a wide open shot. This guy plays the game, and he's just great.
Okay, next question. What women's softball team will challenge last year's champion Arizona State this year?
Okay, I'm taking it to Louisiana with the Ragin' Cajuns. They were 51-11 last season, and they've been in the NCAA regional tournament for 13 years consecutive. I mean, they've been the conference champion 10 out of the last 11 years, and the return of shortstop Narissa Myers and co-head coaches Stephanie and Michael Latif. I mean, they're building a dynasty down in the swamps, and I mean, they're just playing good ball. They're gonna.
Okay, and I've got to go with the 13-0 Crimson Tide, and because of Lauren Sewell, not just because she and I bear the same name, but because in 13 games, 5 of which she started, she got 35 strikeouts in 30 innings. So that is phenomenal. So I got to say, yeah, roll Tide all the way.
Okay. Question number 3, we've talked about the NFL draft this show. Let's talk about the NBA draft for a second. There's a lot of talent in this year's draft. Who's the best point guard prospect?
Okay, you know, I've just been feeling the Kentucky Wildcats here a lot lately. They're 28-1, which is why I'm choosing freshman Marquise Teague. Even though he averages 11 points per game and 2.4 rebounds and roughly 5 assists, you know, he's just a good player. And I think that he would be an excellent prospect for Minnesota if they were to choose him, because he does what he's supposed to do well, and that is putting other players in the position to score as well as scoring himself.
Okay. I'm going to give you a question here. When was the last time a point guard led their team to an NBA championship?
You always have good questions.
It just doesn't happen. I mean, it's been 20 years since Isaiah Thomas led his team to the NBA championship. The NBA is different. You need a floor general. And Kendall Marshall out of UNC, he is a floor general. The guy's averaging 9.7 assists per game, and he's taking a guy like John Henson, power forward, who has no offensive game. The guy can't shoot. He is nothing. To average 14 points, his passing puts this guy in position to make plays on offense.
Okay, and last question. After T.O.'s first game in the Indoor Football League, do you think he has what it takes for the NFL?
Okay, easy question. T.O. should be back in the league. Last season in the NFL, he averaged 983 yards and had 9 touchdowns. I mean, he scored 3 touchdowns in his first game in the indoor league, and you can tell why he's playing. He owns half the team. That's the only reason he's there. But he's hoping to play his way back in, so he's trying to do things the right way. And, I mean, winning makes everyone happy, so how is this a crime for this guy? Look at Plexico Burst. He shot himself, and he's still playing.
Really? You're going to go there, Jamal?
Yes, I'm going there. This guy has a history of being late to meetings and have attitude problems. He only had 612 yards last season.
Okay, you're pro, T.O. So aside from the $80 million he squandered from the NFL, he is a 6-time Pro Bowler, so obviously the talent is there. And in his first game, as you mentioned, he did get 3 touchdowns with 53 yards receiving. So what team do you think could possibly or would possibly consider taking T.O.?
Chicago, San Francisco.
Okay, you would say that. Okay, so we know that he can fit into any scheme. He's versatile and he's always productive. He's faced no major injuries aside from the broken ankle that he played within the Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, so I just think it's a risk. He has a talent, but no team is going to pay those big dollars. So, and that's why you have teams that are built around Calvin Johnson, Mike Wallace, and Andre Johnson. The talent is there, but of course it's a risk. So I don't think there is a bright future for him in the NFL, especially not starting. So N-O to T.O.
I'm not going to agree with you there. T.O. is great guy to watch, and he deserves to be back in the NFL.
Yeah, but who's going to take that risk, Jamal?
Somebody should take that risk. If Randy Moss can make it back in, T.O. can make it back in. But we're out of time for today's show.
And I'm Lauren Fluker.
And I'm Jamal Williams, and this is From the Press Box.